major decision win by Pat Kelly III over Oscar Adams. Here we go into the heavyweights. The Mavericks sophomore out of Wichita, Kansas, Jerry Corner. And out of Evanston, Wyoming, for Central Oklahoma, a junior, Winterhawk Windchief. Great name. Great name.
You notice he's got his head taped up. Winterhawk's got his head taped up there. That's not because of an injury. It's because he's got long hair in his Native American tradition. He's got long hair down to the middle of his back. I've reffed him a few times earlier this year. They tried to get an injunction from the NCAA to allow him to keep it, but the NCAA wouldn't let him have it. It looks like he's actually wearing a swim cap underneath there.
His headgear obviously came loose, and that's why we have a stoppage of action, but they started fast. I mean, they started fast. Corner, of course, a lot of people have talked about Jerry Corner this year, and as we said, he's just a sophomore.
He's been another real pleasant surprise for Coach Denny and the Mavericks, and Coach Denny always kind of looks at the heavyweights as his project. He lets all the assistant coaches coach the other guys, but the heavyweights are his boys, and he's got a special place in his heart for the heavyweights at all times. But Jerry's come in here and he's beat some really tough guys, and kind of came from nowhere and has earned himself a #2 national ranking. So they're real happy with what he's done so far, and he's got a 23-7 record. These two wrestlers are no strangers to each other either. They've met up twice. Jerry Corner winning both of those matches. I know they wrestled once in an open, and then they wrestled in the duel down in Edmond last month. So
green. So Windchief warned for stalling. You talked about heavyweights at UNO. Of course, the first person that comes to mind is Mark Rigatuso, but Clark Snaple, another good heavyweight for the Mavericks. And
Rigatuso, obviously, when you look back over the years, has got the most impressive record of any heavyweight here. Two-time All-American at the Division I level as well. He was a two-time national champ in Division II and a two-time All-American in the Division I ranks. So
that was before they changed the rule.
That's right. They changed the rule back in 1990 that Division II wrestlers can no longer advance on to the Division I nationals, which is really kind of sad. And I'm not saying this because I'm from a Division II school, but I think overall it's really hurt the sport. It's hurt the Division II level of wrestling. Windchief, junior college two-time All-American out of Northwest Wyoming. The Mavericks have picked up a few wrestlers out of Northwest Wyoming. One of their assistant coaches, Pat Ginsler, who was a two-time All-American and national champ for the Mavericks back in 90 and 91. He also came out of that Northwest Wyoming junior college. So they've got a strong tradition out there for producing some good wrestlers. You see that a lot more anymore, especially here at the Division II level. I've noticed a lot lately, a lot of junior college wrestlers coming into the Division II ranks because Coach Denny, I know, I've talked to him a few times about it. He knows he can pick those guys up and they can come in here and compete right away. Where a high school kid, it might take him 1 or 2 years to get some experience under his belt.
Well, Jerry Corner gets a point on the second stall call against Windchief. And Coach James comes out and he tells Winterhawk, get in there and wrestle. Less than half a minute to go in this period, and Jerry Corner leads 1-0.
Both these wrestlers, nice takedown by Jerry Corner. That was just a case of persistency. He shot in, had a little almost of a half shot. Windchief almost fell down, and Corner just stuck with it and able to get the takedown to end the first period. And
that's gonna do it.
Did a nice job of hanging on there the last 5 seconds to keep that 3-0 lead. He's got the 2-point takedown and the 1 point for penalty against Winterhawk Windchief for stalling. Jerry Corner defers his choice to the third period, so Windchief will take down here in the second period.
There you go.
Both these guys, like I said, two-time state champs from their respective states. Corner from Kansas and Windchief from Wyoming. Winterhawk Windchief lists his summer job as river rafting guide. With a name like that, what else would you expect?
Winter rafting guide. We're into the second period. And Jerry Corner with a 3-1 lead. He wins this. The Mavericks win the match. They win the duel.
Whoever wins it, they win.
That's
We're
true.
tied 16-16 in the final match of a great duel tonight between the number 1 ranked Mavericks and the number 3 ranked Broncos from Central Oklahoma.
You know, we talked about this earlier too, RJ, but I think it's good for the sport that the Broncos moved into NCAA Division II. We know they dominated NAIA, and there was no question about that. But moving into Division II, it can only help everybody else get better too, because you get that one more team that's got all these studs on it.
Well,
you've got to prepare.
Ever since they changed that rule about wrestlers qualifying for the Division I Nationals, you've had some teams bouncing around. A couple teams from Division II, Bakersfield and Edinburgh. A couple teams jumped up to the Division I ranks and just made room for a team like Central Oklahoma to step right in. And by no means, you can't call it a step up, because they came in and dominated like the same way that they did in the NAIA. I mean, it was a lateral move for these guys.
Circling.
Less than half a minute to go in this period, and Corner holding on to a 3-1 lead over Windchief. Team score tied at 16. So as RJ said, the winner of this match gets the team victory. Mavericks trying to hang on to that number 1 ranking.
Green, 1 red.
There's another
stall.
Another stalling call against Windchief. Another point for Jerry Corner. If he gets called again, the next one is a 2-point penalty, and another one after that is disqualification. So, I mean, I know Coach David James from Central Oklahoma, he's really not as much as upset with the officiating, but upset with his own wrestler. He wants him to get a little more aggressive out there.
Go.
Yeah, the Mavericks next week, next Saturday, they will be at Colorado Mines. Then they'll travel to northern Colorado the next day, or the next night against the Bears in Greeley. And then March 2nd, the NCC tournament up at Grand Forks. Of course, UND, North Dakota, and the NCAA Division II tournament in the Dome in Fargo.
This year for the Mavericks basically has just been one long road trip. I think they've only had 2 duels at home this year.
No back. No back.
Oh, man, he almost had him. Just on the edge.
He did get the takedown. Just wasn't able to get the near fall points.
7-1, Corner.
Minute 45 left in the match. Although the one thing about heavyweight, I always say, you can't make a mistake, because it's tough to get off your back when you got 240, 250 pounds on top of you. So Jerry Corner can't get careless here. He's got a big lead built up, but he's also got to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, you're talking about that 240, 250 pounds. I remember the days where heavyweight was over that Tab Thacker and those guys.
Where it was unlimited.
Oh, boy.
You were talking about Mark Rigatuso, former national champ. He had to wrestle Tab Thacker, and Mark was one of the smaller heavyweights in the country, only weighed in at about 204 pounds, going out and wrestling Tab Thacker at 420 pounds. So
that kid was a house. But he was another one of those storied wrestlers out of Iowa at that time. I mean, the state of Iowa. I mean, everybody looked over there for wrestling,
and they still do. I mean, there's really about 3 or 4 states that in the last few years have just been dominant. Iowa always has been, and Oklahoma's always been right there at the top, and Pennsylvania has really made a name for themselves over the years. So.
But I'll tell you, the whole Cornhusker State with the Mavericks and the Huskers, and Shadron has done well. Of course, the Huskers with the Shearer brothers.
And Nebraska Kearney has done well.
Oh, yeah,
also,
Kearney's had some good wrestlers come out of there. And we know Timmy Newmans runs a great program down in Nebraska. But I remember that one year where there was a big rivalry. Keena Turner kind of told Coach Denny what he could do after the match. I mean, that was just heavy stuff.
The Huskers really coming on here at the end of the year, too.
Yeah.
They just moved up to 10th in the rankings. So
Less than under 5 seconds to go in the period. And we've got some fast action, but it's out of bounds. 2 seconds to go.
2 seconds to go, and it's pretty apparent that the Mavericks are going to hang on to that number 1 ranking.
Super. Standing ovation by the crowd. That's it. And you add the point for ride time, makes it 8-2. Corner wins. And the Mavericks win this duel 19 to 16.
A great classic matchup. Again, like we expected, Central Oklahoma jumps out to an early lead, 10-3 after 142 pounds. The Mavericks just started inching their way back, and those last three matches, like we predicted, were the deciding factor.
And we'll be right back with the final tallies for tonight's duel right after this.
It takes drive. It takes determination, and it takes teamwork. Alcohol isn't a part of the winning formula.
Your 1996 women's volleyball champion, the
Hello, I'm Tia Harrison, your host for UN Omaha, the metropolitan area's connection with its university. February is the month we recognize the birthdays of our nation's presidents. On this week's show, we'll talk to UNO Professor of Political Science Kent Kerwin, who is an expert on George Washington. And we'll talk to Sue Maher about the International Children's Conference. Join us on UN Omaha this Thursday at 8 p.m. on KYNE-TV, Channel 26.
You always seem to stand there like this, like you're contemplating what it... Well, we're back at the field house, and excuse the joviality here between RJ, myself, and Coach Mike Denny, but it's been a good night for the Mavericks as they come back in the late stages in the heavier weight classes to win this duel against number 3 Central Oklahoma to keep their number 1 ranking safe. And RJ, it panned out exactly the way you said. I should have never doubted you. You told me early on Central Oklahoma would take the lead, but then the Mavericks would come back.
Well,
near the end.
the Mavericks really have their experience at the upper weights, like I'm sure Coach Denny will agree, and that's not unusual here at UNO. Over the years, UNO's had some great guys in the upper weights, and Coach Denny, like I said, those are kind of his boys, the upper weights. That's who he coaches, and I think things turned out exactly like he expected, too.
Well, Coach, I mean, as we said, and you've wrestled Central Oklahoma several times, not just this year, but you beat them at their place, now you beat them here. I mean, it's got to be a great momentum builder for you as you head toward your last couple of duels and you're going into the tournaments, both national and conference.
Well, it was great preparation. I think, wrestling Central Oklahoma here, us ranked number 1, them number 3, some great matchups. It was great preparation for the North Central Conference tournament because it's going to be just like this, just tough, hard-nosed all the way. So, it is good preparation for the North Central and then for the national tournament.
I was curious. Were you getting a little nervous as we got toward like 150 and 167 pounds? The team scoring wasn't quite going the Mavericks' way.
Well, actually, I predicted it would come down to heavyweight. And, our top 3 guys, just as RJ said, and he used to kind of start that thing going up there. But, we've got 3 really strong people in the upper weights. And really, I thought Johnny Colling wrestled real well against Cunningham. Cunningham's 2-time national champion. Johnny really fought him. So we had some really good performances down through. Ian Brahman Creighton came up real big today. So, those were big matches. That guy had beat him in sudden death last time.
Right.
So it was a great match.
Well, these matches tonight obviously are going to do a lot for your guys for the rest of the year, not only getting prepared for the NCC tournament, but how is this going to help your guys at the national tournament as well?
Well, it really does. I think, the more times you can get into that pressure situation before the national tournament, before the conference of the nationals, the better off you are. So, we were in kind of some pressure situations, tight, tough matches, and that's what it's going to be like at the conference, and that's what it's going to be like at nationals.
Just give me some final thoughts about the overall reaction to your club. I mean, did you find any surprises tonight? I mean, I know with Pat Kelly, you never know what he's going to do. You just kind of like RJ said, set him out on the match and win. As long as you win, well, that's okay.
Well, I'll tell you, they really worked with that guy on Pat's stuff. Pat pinned him last time, and, they had really worked and did a good job with him to keep out of some of Pat's pinning combinations. So, they had scouted us, and they did some good things. But, we had some guys that really came up with some good performances tonight. I think some of our guys were a little disappointed, as some of their guys were. They were probably disappointed in a couple of their matches. But, overall, I think it's just like RJ said, this can only help us for the conference and the nationals.
I know you never look past anybody, Coach. You're at Colorado Mines next week, and then you've got a match again the next night up in Northern Colorado. Obviously, I don't think you're looking past those matches, but what are you expecting out of those two duels?
Well, right now, our whole thing is we want to really just peak for the conference tournament, and we want to perform well in those matches. We're going up there out of our gym here, and we're going up to the altitude. So, that's great preparation. I think, to see how we perform up there, and we expect to perform well, and we want to perform well.
I was going to say, this is your last time at home. You're on the road for the rest of the season, and that includes conference and nationals. Does the road bother your wrestling team? Like you hear other sports teams talk about going on the road. How do you look at that?
Well, we're really road warriors this year, and we're really looking forward to 2 trips to North Dakota.
Yeah, I bet you really are. Well, again, Coach, congratulations on a great match tonight, and thanks for joining us. And it's always good to have you as number 1.
Thanks, Tori. I really appreciate it. And, RJ, thank you. It was a great match to watch there toward the end, I think.
A lot of fun. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach Mike Denny of the UNO Mavericks, who are ranked number 1, by the way, in the NCAA Division II, just taking down the number 3 Central Oklahoma Broncos. We talk so much about the Mavericks. By the way, the final score was 19-16 with the Mavericks winning on top here. Take a look at team scoring, and you can see it from the lightweights all the way down to the heavyweight, exactly what happened. And Northern Colorado. I've been wanting to say that all night long, and I don't know why, but it's Central Oklahoma against UNO. And I don't know, were there any surprises from what you saw?
Well, I didn't think there was a whole lot of surprises tonight. We said it all night long. Central Oklahoma is going to jump out to an early lead, but the Mavericks have the guns at the end of the lineup to come back and come from behind to pull off the victory and hold on to that number 1 ranking.
What impressed you the most about any individual matches stand out for you?
Oh, without a doubt, I would have to say Brahman Creighton's match probably was the big win of the night for the Mavericks. Like I said, there was 3 matches that were kind of toss-ups, and that was one of them. Brahman Creighton beating a wrestler that was ranked a little bit higher than him, and did it in good fashion too.
We heard what Coach Denny had to say, but what do you look at the upcoming duels and the rest of the season for UNO?
Well, the thing about it, UNO doesn't put a whole lot of emphasis on duels. They're more getting ready to wrestle for that North Central Conference, because without a doubt it's the toughest conference in the nation, Division II wise, and just to prepare for that national tournament, they've got to get better than their opponents in the North Central Conference, first of all, and then win the NCAA Division II title this year.
Well, RJ, always it's good to see you. It's always good to work with you. Appreciate it. You brought us another win tonight. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Tori.
And for everybody at University TV, I'm Tori Pantelli, and for RJ Nebe and the entire, it's easy for me to say, and the entire production crew. It's been a great evening. Once again, the Mavericks beat Central Oklahoma 19-16. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you someplace where there's a ball game. Goodbye, everybody.